the 1st. And each day we thought we were going and nothing happened. Finally, on the eve of June the 5th, we got the word that the D-Day was on. And at that time, as I said, we were on our ships already, and we took off early that morning. And I'm talking about early, we took off about 3 o'clock in the morning from Portsmouth.
In what kind of a ship?
We were on a big transport, and all the troops were on this thing. We got about 3/4 of the way there when we were given the signal to get ready to go over the side of the ship into the landing crafts. A landing craft holds 36 men, and the landing craft I was assigned to was the sergeant that I had met and his group, and we went over the side of the ship. But before we did that, he came over to me and he said to me, "Arthur," he says, "all my men had signed a dollar bill." This is the dollar bill that we signed, and you can see it's the original.
Oh, you've got it up there.
That's the original.
Upside down.
On that bill was all the names of the gentlemen that were going to be in our landing craft, which were 36 men. So if you take down the original bill up there, you will be able to read 36 names.
I'll get a photograph of that before I leave.
I can take it down if you want to.
We'll do that a little later.
I usually use that when I go to school, because I don't want to lose that.
No.
Here's a better copy of it, by the way, if you want to take a look. Here's a better copy of it.
Let's see if I can squeeze that in here. I think you can get a good idea and see the signatures.
We went over the side of the ship and into the landing craft, and we were explained that we were in the second wave. The first wave that hit Omaha Beach, 80 to 90% were either wounded or killed. And the machine gun bullets on the beach were unbelievable. And the shells coming down from the top of the buff, we call it a buff, but it was a big mountain, which was about, I guess it was from my back room all the way up to the kitchen. That's how far it was we were off the beach. When I get the call before our ship got up to the beach, and we were told not to go out the front, the gangplank of the landing craft. To go over the side of the ship, we will have a better chance of surviving. And I gave the instructions to the commander in charge, who was in my landing craft, and he naturally not told all his men what to do. We hit the beach and over the side of the ship, but we were pretty far out. The guy who was driving the landing craft dropped us too far out, and the water was over our head, and with all the equipment, down I went. I had a radio and all this equipment. I had to make a decision, and I dropped my pack with my K rations and my clothes. I figured I can always get another one of those by minute, and I get another radio. And I came back up, and I found out that I wasn't the only one that couldn't swim too well, and we all worked our way into the beach. We were on that beach, which probably was the longest day of my life. And if you saw the movie Saving Private Ryan, you cannot get a better idea of what that landing was like than Saving Private Ryan. Also, there was no way to get off the beach because of the buff, and we had to cut a hole in the buff, and there's no way we could do it because in the first wave Almost all the engineers that were in that group were killed. Finally, I contacted the battleship that we were on and told them that if you don't start shooting at the buff and open up, we'll never get off the beach.
So how did you contact the ship?
By my radio.
Oh, you still had the radio?
Oh yeah, I came up, and oh yeah, it was waterproof. And that's why that was where I kept, and my food and all was down at the bottom. So the commanding officer of the 29th came over to me and he told me to contact the battleship. I said, I've already contacted them. I have told them that if they don't shoot into that buff and open up, we'll never get off this beach.
So at the time, you're on the beach, in the sand. What are you using for cover?
Dead bodies. We made sure that the ones that were wounded and could get off, we were putting them back on landing crafts to go back to the ship. But the ones that were dead, we laid there, and they're the ones we hid behind. We figured that there's not much more we can do, and we needed cover. Most of us could not find anybody, and we just dug as much as we could into the sand to get down as deep as we could. And it's pretty hard trying to dig in wet sand, because in the morning the tide's all the way up to the buff, and as the day goes on, the tide works its way back out again. Now we landed at 6:05 in the morning when our landing craft hit that beach, and at that time the tide was pretty well off the beach already. After the battleship started to hit that buff and finally blew a hole in it. If you saw the movie Saving Private Ryan, naturally they show it that it was done by a couple guys who he made them sergeants right away, and in that movie they show that they blew it up, but it was actually the battleship that blew a hole in the buff. Again, we were on that beach, and finally it was about 6 o'clock that evening when we finally started to move off the beach.
Wow. So were you facing pillboxes on the beach?
We were facing, my wife and I went back to retrace my steps 3 years ago. From Cherbourg all the way up to Bastogne, not Bastogne, but from along the coast where all the machine guns, they build a road there. There's a road now. And that's where all the machine guns were. And then going from the road up is the buff. And you can still see there's still guns up there. They preserve some of the guns that are in the holes up on the top of the buff. These are the ones that were firing directly down at the beach with their 88 shells.
So they were not in concrete pillboxes?
No, no, that was, well, they were built, some of them were built that they, in fact, when you go back, a couple of them that they have now for samples show that there was a concrete in them, but a lot of them didn't have these. So they would dig a hole in the sand, dig it out, and then they put the cement in, and it became where they put their big guns at. Now some of them, most of them had that, but a lot of them only had the dirt.